Steve, welcome to my workshop and to Fenric Wood Stuff. Well, this is the 4th episode of the Morris chair build, and in this episode we're going to be focusing on the back. As you saw in the last episode, we finished the sides and all the joinery on the arms, so let's crack on.
So as you saw, I've just cut out these two pieces out of a board that I just milled to thickness, and with another template marked it out and just cut them out, and these are going to be the sides of the back. And as you see, quite a lot of mortises, hence the template. They need to go into these, so I'll flush trim bit the profile to the template, and then I'll put in the mortises.
First thing, I need to attach the template to the component pieces, so it's just double-sided sticky tape onto the template, and then off we go. Here I'm transferring the centerline marks for each of the mortises across actually onto the component piece. As you can hear here, it's absolutely tippling it down. British summer at its finest. So here I'm transferring the centerline marks of the end of the mortises using the same drill that I used to drill on the template. And finally I'll join the dots, as it were, so I'll join the centre marks up with a line and extend it a little bit, and this will help me centre up the mortising jig that I'll be using with the router. Now it's for the other back stile, and I just invert the template. Once again, same again, double-sided tape, and then onto the router table and flush trim it.
So after I've profiled them, I've actually transferred the centre lines of each of the mortises and the centre point of the radius at the end onto the piece. You see there, and there's the crosshairs. And the reason why I've done that, I've made a template, and here's the template. I've just struck lines through the middle of that slot and then lined it up there. And then I just need to use the old router with a guide bush in. So that's an 1/2 inch guide bush with a 1/4 inch cutter. That's 1/2 inch. So that's going to cut a 1/4 inch. So that's going, and that's 1/2 inch. So that's going to cut a 1/4 inch slot. And that should do the mortises. Because some are smaller, I'm going to use the same template. We're just going to put in these little 1/2 inch reducers. Then that'll do the smaller ones, because the smaller slots are 1 inch smaller than the larger ones. So there's 4 larger slots and 1, 2, 3. I think 8 smaller ones. So routing mortises is the next operation.
So with the router depth set to 1/2 inch or 12.7 millimeters, route away. Once again with the router, I'm just using a turret stop and doing the cutting 2 passes.
Job's a good un.
So we just need to repeat this a few more times to complete all the mortises in this seat style and then the other seat style as well. So now we've done the stiles, we need to make the back slats. Now the back slats once again are curved, so it's going to be another bent lamination. So start off in sort of sewing some stock off and flatten it and re-sewing it, and then running it through the drum sander, and we end up with enough pieces to make our back slats.
Time for some bent lamination. So as we saw when we did the yarn for the bent laminations, it's very similar for the back slats. They're going to be bent. So we've created another mould, not shown it because it's just exactly the same, but it's obviously in a smaller scale. Covered it in sellotape, packing tape, and we're ready to glue.
Well, here's the jig that I've created to put the tenons on the end of these bent lamination slats. You see I've made a form to fit the slats. It had to be a different form than one that I've glued up in because there's some significant spring back in these because they're a little bit thicker and the bend is a little bit more severe. Anyway, on the top there's going to be this, I'll get it right, is on this platform there's going to be a little template and it's going to be used in conjunction with a router and a guide bush. So here it is fitted up. There's a little fence at the back which holds it in line, and then we just give it a right go with the router. So it's a 1/2 inch guide bush and a 1/4 inch cutter. So let's see it in action.
You see, got the glue off. So what I'm just going to do now is going to go onto the planer or jointer and just square off that one edge.
Here I'm just transferring the centre line mark on the form down each edge because I'm going to need this to reference once it's in the routing jig. So after I've copied the centre line down both edges, I use these actually to reference within the jig, and you'll see as we put it in the jig now there's a reference line on the form which is the centre point, and line those up and simply just clamp the piece one in line with that edge and then clamp it actually onto the form.
Tighten that up. Then another one of these F-clamps. Right, that's fully in now. Then what you see the top of here is the actual length it's going to end up. So we'll put on our router template, and we'll just flatten that off, and then using another router with a guide bush, we'll go around the edge and create the tenon. Hopefully makes all sense. First I'll just clamp this down.
So once it's secured in the fixture, put on the correct health and safety equipment, of course. And then with router number 1, I'm just going to go across the top and flatten the edges. This makes sure as I'm lining up with the centre line, each slat's the same length and they're actually the same distance from the centre line. Then with router number 2, which has got the guide bush inserted, basically ensuring that the guide bush follows the template towards the outsides, just run it round 2 or 3 passes to create the tenon. And just remove the template, give it a bit of a clean up, got a vacuum, could use some compressed air if you wanted I suppose. And then we've got one tenon completed on one side. So now it's just basically rinse and repeat to do the other side.
So the final thing to do is now just to cut it to width, and we're going to do that on the thicknesser or planer, and we'll just take it down to its final dimension. If you just wondered, I've just got a small set of steps here that I stand on to reach the top of there.
Of course there's a few of these to do before we can actually move on. Now some of the slats I've made quite wide, and they're sort of double the thickness, so you get 2 slats out of this one. Just makes it a bit quicker in terms of the glow up and tenon creation. So it's onto the bandsaw, just basically going to cut it in half, and then as I said earlier, we'll get them to thickness on the planer thicknesser.
So after all that router work and everything, it's down to some hand tools to get these to fit. So I deliberately made them a little bit thicker than they need to be, just so I can finesse it and make a good fit. So it's basically got a little shoulder in it, round them off, and just with a little shoulder plane, just keep on tickling them till they fit. So I've got a new sharpening set up here. It's a set of ceramic stones, 400, 2000 and 6000. Sort of I've come to these from the diamond stone and the leather strop. Not that I've thrown them away, but I tend to use them when I'm out and about doing a job, and these stay in the workshop. So and they're a little bit better actually for particularly these Japanese chisels. So we're just going to give these a quick hone before we use them in creating the shoulders. So I'm just going to mark the shoulders across here. Now because they're 64 wide and the slot that I did was 60mm, so it's basically 2mm to come off each edge. So I've just marked it out. You can probably just see a couple of millimeters either side. Just used a square and adjustable square and set it to 2mm. Like that. And basically just gonna chisel down. Because I used a router, I'm going to have to file those around. I'm not using a rasp, I'm actually using an engineer's file. It's got a bit smoother. Be careful not to get too close and damage the shoulder. That'll do. Right, got 5 more slats to do, and obviously both sides. I'll see you when I've done all that. Same process, shoulder plane, trial and error, file it round, test, shoulder plane, test, file, until I get the fit I'm looking for.
So after all the slats are fitted, I just put it all together and this is what it looks like. That's the back done. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and stay tuned for the next video.